desperation and regret. The trackers had cut up the animal and hoisted her into a tree at a height that would allow a lion stretching on its back legs to feed, but not to take the bait whole. It wasn't long before the blowflies appeared like shiny round ball bearings to a strong magnet and hastened the putrefaction. The smell of death contains its own unique primordial fear, and as we waited for the cats to come alive to the prey, the sun slipped slowly in the sky and lent the bush an apricot glow, allowing the colours to become saturated, heavy with their own beauty. The dusk encouraged the birds to emerge, fighting for their territory and staking their claim with raucous abandon, the parrots swooping like fragments of rainbow. There was a pair of sunbirds, anxious and flighty in their rich sheen plumage, siphoning nectar from yellow flowers. Suddenly there was tension. An animal padded into the hunting area beneath the buffalo carcass. I lifted my gun, gently easing off the safety while I strained to see what was about to feed on the bait. Its golden pelt caught the dying sun, the light illuminating its cream throat, its soft black-tipped ears, and its yellow, ever-vigilant eyes stared, the black pupils like the tips of two cold steel daggers, as it looked down the tunnel at me, sighting behind the barrel of my rifle. It was a big cat, sleek and supple and majestic. There is no finer wild animal. It's at moments like these that I consider the deadly calculations that go through a lion's brain as it considers the danger or opportunity ahead of it. Man has the upper hand, but not always. A squeeze on the trigger, as Hemingway put it, like the last turn of the key opening a sardine can, and it would be all over. I beaded the lion's skull. It had no mane. It was a lioness. I would not shoot. She's too precious as a life-giver, and besides, there are hefty fines for the hunting of a female, even a prison sentence. Legal safari hunting is well managed. It's one of the most effective means of conservation in Africa, and I have my own principles from which I never deviate. If you are loyal to the land, it will embrace you. If you kill indiscriminately, your soul will eventually reside in hell. The lioness climbed onto her back legs and began tearing at the buffalo carcass with a savage, violent hunger. We were mute spectators, my wife and I, witnessing raw power, something that never failed to send a shiver down my spine. We returned for many days, repeating the vigil in the hide, but the big old male lion never showed up. Perhaps he was wise to our tricks, not ready to concede the fight, and would rage until the dying of his day. This morning we had seen kudu and reedbuck on the grassy glades that intersected the forest. On the sandy track was spoor of the animals that had crossed in the night. There were elephant droppings, still steaming in the cold air of dawn, a pile knee-high. They came from an old elephant, his teeth at the end of their days, because the dung was full of twigs and leaves that were almost whole. He couldn't chew his food. In the dust were large round footprints the size of hubcaps. They were smooth imprints from the pads of his feet, which were worn down, like car tires stripped of their tread. He was a big old elephant, and he was close. We climbed the kopje, reaching the summit just as the sun broke out from behind the forest, and all about us the land shimmered with the radiance of daylight, new life unfolding in a blaze of colour. The tracker pointed to a far-off clump of forest, perhaps 2 miles away. There was something grey, impossible to distinguish from a lump of rock, until it moved. We set off down the